Waiver wire tight ends. We start with Hunter Henry, Jay, 64% available against the Bears. He's been a favorite target of Drake May's. 8 targets.
Comes up every week.
Every week. Yeah, it's crazy that he's still out there in over 60% of leagues.
Yeah, I mean, 23 targets the past 3 weeks. Any tight end who's getting 23 targets over a 3 weeks span just needs to be rostered. To your point, kind of has that connection with Drake May, looking for Hunter Henry over the middle a ton. So yeah, he's better option. Like if you have like Mark Andrews or whatever, you're better off starting Hunter Henry.
Yeah, since Drake May became the starter, he's the 8th best tight end in fantasy on a points per game basis. He's averaging over 13 fantasy points per game. He's at Chicago this week that struggles against tight ends. I was asked on Football Night in America if I would like to do the gritty. They did a social post.
Yeah.
And Deb McCourty and Jason Garrett, Maria, they all did it. Chris Sims did it. Because I love you, America, I said no. I said I do not want to do that. But somebody who can do the gritty is Mike Gesicki. He's played 4 games in which T. Higgins has missed, right? And at the moment, doesn't seem like Higgins can come back this week. We'll find out. But in the 4 games that T. Higgins has missed, he's averaging over 15 fantasy points per game. It's a nice matchup with the Ravens as they allow the 2nd most yards per game to opposing tight ends as well. So Mike Gesicki suddenly very viable, especially if T. Higgins misses once again.
Another tight end here, Jay, in Jonnu Smith, who's making some noise lately. 6 targets, 5 catches, 46 yards. We've kind of laughed at this Miami offense at times. Doesn't look at Jalen Waddle, but they've been looking at Jonnu Smith.
He's supplanted Jalen Waddle as the second option in this pass game. And I think the key here is that last year in particular, Tirico was just taking so many targets out of this offense. There just wasn't really room for anyone outside of Jalen Waddle. But Tirico is getting like 6, 8 targets a week instead of 12, 14. Then there's just more room for everyone. I think Mike McDaniel really likes to use Jonnu Smith's speed.
Matthew, we brought up rookie Jatavian Sanders. He's got the Giants. You like the matchup. And he's just one of the guys in this offense that the ball has to go to at this point.
They just don't have a lot of bodies out there. And in 2 of the last 3 games, he's gotten over 20% target share. In those games, averaging over 12 fantasy points per game, had at least 60 receiving yards in both. And watching the games, like Sanders made some really nice catches in traffic. He made them on the sideline as well. And just, again, the Panthers are going with a youth movement, despite the fact that they had to let go of Jonathan Mingo. But, they're, whether it's Xavier Legette or Jalen Coker or now Jatavian Sanders and Bryce Young under center, they're like, hey, this is going to be the future of our offense. Let's see what we get out of our guys. We got to get them out there. So Jatavian Sanders is going to get a bunch of run. And did you like him as a prospect coming out of Texas?
I did, as a pass catcher. That's why he's fantasy viable. He's really a classic move tight end. Once upon a time, people thought he'd be a first-rounder. He didn't run as well as we thought. He is going to be a fantasy thing for the next couple of years because of how skilled he is as a pass catcher.
There you go.
Old friend Juwan Johnson back into the mix here, Jay. 97% available. The Saints are running out of pass catchers just like the Panthers are. Juwan Johnson in the mix.
I keep meaning to send him his championship ring from his stint on Live at Noon of the Cock.
Okay, well, he's about to be the number 1 pass-catching option in an NFL game. I think for Derek Carr with Chris Olave expected, he's probably going to miss with that concussion. Rashid Shaheed obviously out as well. He played 51 snaps against the Panthers, and he's a tight end, so he kind of has to be rostered. He's touchdown dependent, and he hasn't scored a touchdown in 8 games, which hurts. Right. But at the same time, just through volume, just being out there in a game, you expect they're going to need to throw.
And you have Taysom Hill there as well. Taysom Hill, 14 or more fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games. Had 18% target share, so he'll be involved. A lot of Kamara, dump-offs to Kamara, and then...
Exciting times in New Orleans.
Exciting times in New Orleans. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.